Hey everybody, welcome back. Doing the bug fixing thing again, getting some to-dos to done. Uh, uh, I'm not that good. I do love that though. um, Finishing up the play test. Gotten a lot of good feedback. You can see here I've been kind of sort of organizing it here. I need to write so one of the things I've got is I had this thing. I had the game make a log file. And so one of the things it does is creates these logs. Just a log of what people did in the game. But most importantly, it has probably most importantly for me, is it has each attempt they made on a level. So I know the level that they tried and how they did on it, right? What rank they got, what score they got, whether they finished it or not. And what I'm going to do is write a little app that I guess just parses through all that and tells me who, like, where people got stuck, you know? Hey Judd, tells me where people got stuck and how far they made it, what the average score was, see if there's levels people couldn't complete, that sort of thing. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how that goes. But today, right now, I've got some bugs to fix, and all three of these bugs came from the playtest. This one changed the respawn system so it doesn't create respawn points too close to laser beams. One thing some players were running into is they would die and then get trapped between two lasers when they respawned there. And you can kind of wait for the timer to go down and get out, and you're invulnerable when you first spawn in, but it is an unfortunate respawn location. So my plan there is just modify the respawn system a little bit so that it doesn't place you, if you're too close to a laser, it's not gonna put a save point there, basically. And I'll show you how that respawn system works. When you're leaving the mission and you've been beamed out, if you're out of fuel, there's an alarm. And I think I'm just going to turn the alarm off when you get beamed out. And then I think I'm going to do a little, we'll see if I have time. It's getting close to dinner time around here. But there's some UI rearrangement. Some of these things, I'm going to move some of the things off the main menu and into the options menu. And the reason I've been putting this off, is because I hate doing UI work. It's terrible. I suck at it, and I don't like it. But this main menu just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And to move this stuff to the options menu, now I need to redesign the options menu a little bit, and it's just... I have this one over here too, redesign the campaign and level select. I'm just going to redesign that whole thing. I know exactly how I want it to work in my head. I just don't want to do it. But I've got to do it. But let's do these fun ones first. Change the respawn system so it doesn't create respawn points too close to laser beams. So let me show you how that works first. If you look at the ship, there's a timer. If I'm remembering this correctly, there's a timer. Somewhere. Oh, maybe it's not in the ship. Tractor timer. Maybe it's in the main game loop. Yeah, there it is. There's a position timer. So every second, this timer fires. Yeah, for real. I mean, some of I'll show it to you. My UI trees they're fairly okay, the node trees, but yeah, it could be better. Hey, Leonard, you're multitasking. Yeah, I had a couple of YouTube videos in the hopper, and I hadn't published them yet. So I just went ahead and did that. You guys are going to give me a big head. I mean, bigger than it is already. Oh, and you know what else I've got on the docket today? I promised everybody I would show them this. And since Andrew just showed up, I should just do it right now. So Droopy Music has been making music for me, and he sent me over a new track a couple days ago. And I wanted to show it off, but I didn't have, just playing music on your stream is just kind of boring. You see a playhead moving, and I don't know. So I wanted a visualizer. So I made one. And it turns out Godot has a really cool spectrum analyzer now, which does a fast Fourier transform, and you can do a spectrum analysis and all this stuff. And I can show you some of the code. But before we do that, let me just, and I'll be quiet here. I'm going to run this. This is my analyzer. And this is the new track, and I don't think I've played this for anybody before. It's 135 seconds of just chefkiss.jpg, and I'm going to play it for you guys right now. All right. Oop. Hey, Patrick. Yeah, so that was fun. I worked on that yesterday. It basically, all the hard work is being done by this in the audio bus. It's a spectrum analyzer node or effect that you put in your audio bus. And then you can, where is it? You can, oh my goodness, here it is. So this is the spectrum analyzer effect. And then you can get the magnitude for a frequency range. So you give it a frequency range like 0 to 200 hertz or 2000 to 3000 hertz, whatever, however many buckets you want. And it gives you the magnitude, the energy it's normalized linear, but you can convert it back to decibels, and once you have that magnitude, then you can do whatever you want with it. And what I'm doing is I'm just doing some drawing. So I draw a line and mirror it and do some other stuff and change the colors and draw some more lines. And that's how you make a spectrum frequency analyzer. Anyway, that was a fun project. It'll be interesting to see how that turned out on the encoder when I watch the video back again. I don't know. My internet kind of sucks here in the afternoon. So yeah, Droopy Music. Go check him out. He's a great musician. Makes really cool tracks. And if you need something for your game, he's right there. All right. So respawn system. Position timer, right? So every second. So this timer starts and just fires continuously every second while the game is running, and then it updates this position history. And what it's doing is it's just recording. It creates this dictionary of position, the gravity vector, and the time. Right. So it's creating this dictionary, loading that stuff up with the player's position, what gravity they were being affected by at that moment, and the current time. And then it adds it to a position history array. And it keeps the last three. And then when you respawn, it calls setup player. And setup player gets the most recent position history and just puts the player there. There we go. Thanks, Patrick. So it just puts the player back at the last position that we recorded for them, which was like a second ago. Front. 3 seconds ago, maybe? Because it's putting these history positions on the back. Yeah, and popping the oldest one on the front. So, yeah, so it's doing... yeah, it's getting the one off the front. So it's putting the player back where they were 3 seconds ago. So to fix this problem where you're getting stuck between lasers, I think what I need to do is just in the position timer where it's updating the position history, I just need to check if they're near some things that I don't want them to be near. And if they are, then just don't record don't record that position. It just won't do this if they're too close to lasers. So then the question becomes, well, how do you know if they're close to lasers or not? Do you want to put that code here? I mean, it makes sense to put it here, but then, so then this code will have to know something about the player and the world, right? An alternative would be to have the ship turn off this timer. When it gets close to a laser or something, just turn this timer off, and then when you're further away, turn it back on. And that way the ship would know, it knows what it's near, and this code wouldn't have to know at all. It just wouldn't get called. There might be another way. Another way to do it would be to have something in the world, probably the ship, right? Because it knows what's near it. Set some flag or something saying, don't record my position right now. And then this code would just say, hey, is it okay to record my position? It would check that flag. And then you wouldn't have to mess around with turning timers on or off. It seems a little leaky, because if I set the flag but forget to unset it, it's going to cause a bug that's going to be hard to track down later. Similarly, if I turn off the timer and forget to turn it back on, that's going to be difficult to track down later. On the other hand, if I put the code here for checking what's near the player, then that's not leaky. Yeah, I suppose it's fine. I think I'd prefer that. There seems like there's a lot more code paths where where I need to check if I've turned off the flag, and there's a lot of code paths where I would need to turn it back on, but I don't know what they all are. Seems like that would require a lot of testing, and I'm not sure. Like if the player died, you'd want to turn it back on. Or if the player moves away from the lasers, you want to turn it back on. If the player is, I don't know. See, that's what I mean. It seems like there's a lot of different code paths, and I can't predict what they all are. And I know if I miss one, it's going to cause a bug where somebody's going to go, hey, I respawned really far away, and I don't know why. And I'll be like, I don't know why either. And then I'll have to go through and figure out where I need to turn that thing back on. Whereas if I put it here, it's just done in real time. There's no dependency. Yeah, I'm going to put it here. Let's just do that first and see how it works. So I want to check, turn that down, check if player is near something, something dangerous. If a player is too close to something dangerous, like laser beams, no, like frickin' laser beams, then don't create a respawn point. This also would avoid the problem where you might be really close to a laser, because this thing only comes, this only gets called once per second, right? So you might get really close to a laser, and then you go, okay, turn off the timer, but it's too late. The position's already been recorded. You know, maybe it just happened just a split second before, you know, before you think to do it. Yeah, I'm going to do it here. So I need to check Tiny Big Games. I like that name. Thanks for the follow. You guys remember Big Huge Games? They made Rise of Nations. It was an RTS back in the day. Oh, I played that game. I played the hell out of that game. Tiny Big. Going good. How are you doing? Yeah, I mean, there's already some dependencies in here, right? And this is the main game loop. It knows about the world already anyway, so I'm not. It's fine. I need to do a. I need to do a get the physics server, and then I need to do a physics query for laser beams, and then abort if lasers are too close. So, no, this isn't in the player. This is sort of the main, this is the main game loop, which has all the UI for the game, has the starfield background, has a bunch of foreground layers for different things, like, you know, parallax layers for like dust and stuff. It's got the dialogue layer, got a pause layer, timers for placing asteroids in the game, crosshair, the actual level geometry and everything goes here, and the editor is here. It's got it all. We're addicted. We just can't get enough. So I need to get the physics server, and I can never remember how to do it. So I'm just going to copy some code from someplace else. Here it is. Right. So this, and from here, I'm here in this script, so it's going to be, I'm here in this script. So it's just going to be level. Oh my God, can you guys hear that dog? Right? Yeah, it's right there. So this is the, what's called the space, which I'm not sure exactly what it means. But basically you need to get the space from the 2D world. And I guess this is like, this is where all your physics simulation happens. And then the space state you need to get from the space. So first you get the space from your world 2D. Then you get the space state from the physics server. And then once you have the space and the space state, you can do things like make physics queries. And I have a good one in here that I can copy. That already does exactly what I want. So I'm just trying to find it. So like this one, this is a space state query that says what's intersecting a point right now, and the point I'm passing in is the global mouse position. So this gives me all the objects touching the mouse cursor. But I want this one. I need to create a shape, right? So, yeah. So I've got the physics server, and then I need to create a shape. So what I'm doing here is I need to construct a physics query, and what I'm going to do is use a circle to constrain the query. And yeah, here it is. Dot, dot, dot. Dot, 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 dot. So then I do something like this. So I take the shape and I say, let's look at a shape with a radius of, I don't know, 64 pixels. So this will be a 128 pixel diameter shape, right? And I want to put it at the player. Yeah, game.player.global position. So I'm taking my, this is kind of confusing, but I created a shape, a circle shape, and then I created a physics query. Okay, and then I changed the shape to 64 pixels in radius. And I told the physics query here to use that shape. So the physics query is going to use a shape of a circle with a 64 pixel radius. Then I'm transforming the query to put it where the player currently is. And then I just need to get the list of objects that it intersects, and that's what this is. So the space state is the physics server state. It's going to basically see what objects intersect this shape. And then I need to loop through those and say if if O dot entity ID equals laser beam, then return, right? I don't think this will be too expensive. It's just getting a reference, and then it gets another reference, and then it creates a shape. That's fine. Creates another reference, does one physics query, and then loops through the things that it touches, which might be 10 things, 5 things. It's not going to be very many. So I want to check if it has any ID, right? And then let me just check my laser beam and make sure that that's the right entity ID. Entity type ID equals laser beam. I could get groups for that. So the reason I'm using this, every one of the entities in my game has an entity type ID. And the reason that I do this for every one of the entities in my game is because I didn't know about groups when I started coding it. I didn't know. Now I know, but I didn't want to rewrite all that code. So that ship has sailed. All my entities have an entity type ID. My next game, and for other stuff that I'm doing in the game, I am using groups more. I recommend using them instead of this. This is fine. It works great. You just have to remember to make one. You have to put that on everything, right? Or you have to check, does this variable even exist before trying to access it? Otherwise, you're going to crash your game. Groups is a little easier. Don't need that. Don't need that. All right. So, yeah, basically. Right, but this would have been a lot easier if I just could say O dot is in group, right? Laser beams. That'd have been easier. I just didn't know. I think 64 is going to be too big. Let's make that 32. So it's going to get the physics space, create a shape query. Then loop through those things that it found. And then if it found a laser beam, don't record the position history right there. So if you're too close to the laser beam, you're not going to respawn near it. Let me just check this thing to make sure it's returning the thing that I think it is. It returns an array of dictionaries. I think I want collider. I want O.collider. I think. Well, let's do this. So first, I'm going to delete all this real quick. No. I'm going to just turn it off real quick. Because I want to make sure I can test this. So I'm going to create a little test level. Let's delete that, oops. Delete that, delete that, delete that, delete that, delete that, delete that. Let's put a frickin' laser beam right there. And then I'm gonna go close to it and die. So I should be able to just count. Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, I'm gonna respawn right here. Right, there it is. So that's the old respawn behavior. And now let's turn this on and see if it does the right thing. If it doesn't crash just instantly. Okay, so it crashed instantly. Is there no has? Has node, has signal. I'm doing this somewhere. See all these entity type IDs? I got them everywhere. This is why I didn't want to switch it to groups, because I have to rewrite all this stuff. And I was just like, nah, entity type ID is fine. I was like, oh, I hate entity type ID. I'm going to switch it to groups. And then I looked at all the code and I was like, you know what? Actually, it's not as bad as I thought it was. See, it's right. Oh, was that the code I just wrote? Yeah, that's the code I just wrote. Here's a has. Oh, that's a dictionary, though. You know, I know this code is in, let's see, is something. Here we go. I want get is what I want. So if you do get, you can get any property or variable of an object, and get will return null or empty if it doesn't exist. It's not perfect, because sometimes you can have a variable which is null, so it's real, it's just null. This won't. It makes it trickier to find those. But if it has a value, if you know it has a value, you can do this, and if it returns null, you know that this isn't defined. Anyway, that's all I need to have for this. So I just used the wrong keyword. I need to use get, not has. So this will say, if the collider has an entity type ID, and the entity type ID is laserbeam, then abort. All right, here we go. Sorry. Let's do that. So now, 1, 2, 3. Now I should expect it. If that code is working, this should respawn further away, somewhere back here. Didn't work. Did not work. And now we get down to the business of debugging. Why didn't that work? Let's see. Laser beam. Let's just see if it prints that out when I'm close. Let's see what I got here. Nothing. Nothing. You know what I might need to do is I might need to set the types of things that this thing will collide with. It's probably not colliding with... Yeah, that's probably what it is. It's probably not colliding with laser beams. Oops, intersect shape. Radius, shape, transform. Collision layer. That's what I want. Let's see if that helps. And the collision layer is going to be... Good lord, that dog. Where are my beams? Line number and everything, huh? That's cool. I'll have to try that out. There's a bunch of neat print statements. I learned that you can do, that basically print works like printf. You can pass in variables and placeholders and stuff. Pretty neat. You can format numbers and decimal strings and all kinds of neat stuff. This guy... Oh, this guy isn't in a collision layer. He collides with things, but he's not in a layer itself. That's why the collision isn't working. I should put him here. Collision 8. So it collides with all these things. Yeah, I'll just put him there. Oh. Maybe. That might be why I took it out. Well, let's see. Let's just see. But thank you, yeah. Well, I mean, they were colliding with each other before, and I removed it. Okay, so that's fine. Actually not sure why they're not colliding with each other. But it's working, so I'm just going to go with it. So that's in a collision layer. So now my other code here, I bet I don't need that. And this should print laser beam sometimes when I get close. There it is. Right? Laser beam, laser beam, laser beam. Needed to be in a collision layer. Right. So this is recording the position recording the position history, and except if it's too close to a laser, then it's not gonna. So I'm gonna fly around a little bit. I'm gonna go 3 seconds away and 3 seconds back, just to make sure, right? Our spawn points are gonna be out here someplace. Oh, maybe I should visualize them. I should draw them or something. Whatever, it's fine. So now I've got a spawn point here. Right, if I wait here for 3 seconds, I know there's gonna be a spawn point here. And then what I'm gonna do is fly over here real quick, wait another 3 seconds, and then die, and I should respawn someplace back over here. So here we go. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 2007, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, see, that worked. Let's see if I can get really trucking. Make it really far away. So if I'm coming in hot. Oh, interesting. Oh no, laser beams. Well, God bless America. That didn't work at all. Why didn't that time it work? Maybe 32 isn't enough. And that time it worked. I think maybe 32 pixels isn't enough. Because this whole screen is 640. I think the ship is 32. Yeah, it's pretty small. Maybe my first instinct was right to make this 64. I mean, let's just go nuts and make it 100. And do I have a draw in here? Let's just see. Nope, no draw. Let's do a debug real quick. I'm going to do a debug draw real quick. Yeah. I'll say. Oh wait, what file am I in? Yeah, that's right. So I'll do a update. And then here I'll do a draw. And I'll do a draw circle. Let's do 4H in position history. Draw circle at history.position, radius 5, color white. So whenever it does this update, whenever it does the position history, it's going to call update. Update will cause draw to be run. H, and it'll draw a circle. So it should end up drawing 3 circles on the screen. Yeah, there they are, see? There's my position history, my respawn points. So here I am close, and see, it's not drawing anymore. When I move away, it's going to start drawing them again. So that's going to be this last one is where I'll respawn. But when I get close to the frickin' laser beams, it stops drawing them. So yeah, the problem was just 32 was too small. So now if I die, I'm going to respawn right here. Ba-bam. And actually, when I die, it respawns at the second one. Because when you respawn in, it creates a new one immediately. No? No, I was just counting them wrong. Yeah, so that works. Alright, my respawn points, but close to the laser beam, no respawn. Move away from the laser beam. The respawn points start being recorded again. That should hopefully take care of the problem where players were getting stuck between two laser beams. You'd get wedged in between, or you'd make it through, but a respawn point would get dropped right between two lasers, and you'd go through and die, and then it'd respawn you back there at the laser beams. Now that won't happen because it won't record a respawn point that close to the lasers at all. It'll either be before the lasers or after the lasers. Take that out now. Take that out. And just for giggles, let's see how slow this is. I could do the debugger, but it's kind of a pain. The profiler isn't super great to interpret, so I'm just going to do os dot get the microseconds here, and then print look at that, print debug. What does print debug do? Oh, interesting. So if you forget, hey Max. Yeah, if you just permanently closed one, that would be bad, right? Minus begin. Let's just see how long this takes. So I should end up getting some prints here with tiny, tiny numbers, microseconds, just to see how long this section of code actually takes to run. It's not doing the debug draw anymore. So this is 77 microseconds, right? Microseconds, which is a millionth of a second. So 77 millionths of a second. Hey Max, is that what a microsecond is? A musecond? It's millionths, right? Millisecond is thousandths. Microsecond is millionths. Pretty sure. Microsecond. Microsecond. 1/1,000,000th of a second. So this whole section of code, even though it looks kind of hairy, right? Getting the physics state and creating a shape and doing the physics query and transforming it and doing the intersection and then looping through the objects that it's touching. Even though that seems kind of hairy, it's the engine doing it all, right? And the engine's written in C++, and it takes, 80 millionths of a second, which is, where's my trusty old calculator? 80 millionths times 1,000. Divided by 1,000 is 0.08 milliseconds. Divided by 1,000 is 0.0008 seconds. And if we take that number and divide it by 1/60th of a second, and then times it by 100 to get a percentage. It's 0.4% of a frame. 0.4% of one frame. It's very, very fast. So I don't need to worry about it. I can do those all day long. I can do those all day and not have to worry about it affecting my frame rate at all. 60 frames per second. But if you're too close, it's okay. So like, let me draw another laser here. Right, and then put a, let's see, where's my buttons? Button. I'm going to open you. And I'm going to open you. And I'm going to close you. And close you. And then I'm going to get in between there. So here's the problem that would happen, right? You'd go blap, and you'd get in here and go, oh no! And then you'd die. And you'd respawn inside. But now you're going to respawn outside. Because before I would be sitting here 1, 2, 3, and it's putting respawn points here, right? But now I can sit here as long as I like, and as soon as I die, it's going to put me back outside. Oh, I love it when a plan comes together. BAP. What is this? Yep. So there's my frickin' laser beam code. This is... that's fine. Just a small change I made the other day. That's noise. Oh, this is that UI work I was doing that I hate. Yeah. I should stash that or something. So this is the True Elect. Hey, thanks. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for following. Fix respawn system so players aren't stuck inside of laser beams. And this stuff, I'm going to throw it away. I was experimenting with the UI for the level and campaign choosers. And while I was doing that, I realized these are terrible. And I'm just going to rewrite those scenes from scratch. I've got a vision of how I want it to work. And I'm not going to use any of that code that I had in there anyway. Does it sound like I live with like a million little dogs? There's a dog, my neighbor's dog is back here. Just losing his shit over nothing. And then I think my dog is out here and he's just yelling at the other dog, telling him to shut up. All right. Boom. One bug down. Yeah, right. Fuel alarm should stop when the player control is removed in the end mission safe zone. Right. So you've run out of... let's recreate the test scenario again. You've run out of fuel. get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. I'm going to set our starting fuel to 100. And I'm going to put an exit right here, just to make it easy. And it's going to be visible from the start of the game, and go. Javi, hey! Hey, congratulations, dude. Those pictures are great. I guess you had a fun time. Anyway, congrats. Now the real work begins. Why am... Oh, my fuel's not going down because I have fuel turned off. There we go. Now we'll consume fuel. So I'm out of gas and I hit the exit and the alarm is still going. And I agree. I think that needs to be adjusted. They weren't too surprised. They're like, this guy. John, ship it already. Ship it. All right, I think the fuel warning is here. No fuel timer, right? It's 15 seconds. No fuel timer. Oh, it's perfect, right? So, if you don't have any fuel, the fuel timer starts. If you have fuel, the fuel timer stops. So I need to add another condition here. If the player is exiting the level, right? Something like, if player exiting level, then no fuel timer stop. Otherwise, do all this stuff, right? So how do I know if the player is exiting the level? That's a good question. Here I am on line 495. 495. Player exit, right? I have a function for it. Turn off the whales. Oh, it's in my singleton. Spaghetti code. Okay, so I have a stat for it. My stat system here, I just keep track of a bunch of different things that happen throughout the level, throughout the gameplay, right? And it's just a dictionary of stats. These get reset when you start the level, and then they get incremented as you play. There's this inc stat, and there's a function, handy little function here for getting the stat. So player exited is 0. And then when you leave the level, it becomes non-zero. So back here, that's how I can tell if the player's left the level or not. Here, on good old line 495. Right? If get stat player exited, then stop the timer. Otherwise, just do all this old stuff it was already doing. Can I optimize this logic a little bit so that there's less if statements? Yeah, probably, but not in a way that would make sense to me. Not in a way that's easy for me to understand. This is easy for me to understand. If the player's exited, then that's what I care about. Otherwise, if the player hasn't exited, do all this other stuff. I don't want to think about it too much. So, load up our test scenario again. Oh yeah, lots of juice. So I'm gonna run this out of fuel. Our alarm will come on. I'm gonna add a little fuel real quick to make sure the alarm goes back off. Yeah. Gonna run out again. And now I'm gonna hit the exit and the alarm should go off. It didn't. It didn't at all. Why not? Oh. Because this only happens when you add fuel. I need to stop the timer someplace else. This only happens when you add fuel or change fuel, right? And if you're already out, your fuel level isn't going to change, so this will never get called. I do still need this condition. Yeah, I do still need this condition. I think. Well, you can't get fuel or lose fuel while you're exiting. So I don't need this condition here. I just need to put it someplace else. Oh, you know what? Stupid. I can just put it at, I can just put it here. No fuel timer. No fuel timer. Shoot. Where can I put it? Yeah, 25 volcanoes. Maybe I was looking at the wrong thing. It's definitely what I want. Here's my exit code, my beam out. This is where I want to stop the timer. But this script doesn't know about the main game scene. Could put something in here. I'm sure I've got a process, yeah, physics process. Could just check it there. Yeah, why not? Do that. And then, how does no fuel timer work? Let me just make sure I understand how this works. The no fuel timer here we go. This is all in... Oh, look at that. It's all in physics process already. All the fuel timer stuff is already here. So I can say this. Just keep it all together. Yeah, there actually is a beam out signal. That would be another way to go. Let me just see if this works. Because I kind of like having all the code in one place. Alright. No alarm because I have fuel. I'm about to run out of fuel. Alarm comes on. Add some fuel. Alarm goes back off again. Run out of fuel again. And then when I exit, the alarm should go off. And it didn't. You ever get the feeling that I don't know what I'm doing? Where's that alarm coming from? No fuel timer. Right? Here's where the timer label's getting updated. Maybe player exited doesn't get called until the player's actually out. Thank you, Javi. Oh, I see what happened. So it's because of this. Such a mess. I'm going to do something bad. Just to make sure, just to see if it works. So this wasn't working because this is null. And here, the first thing it does is it checks, is there a player? And if there's not, it doesn't even run this code. So that's why it wasn't working here. But I should be able to say, find node, no fuel. Or, this is gonna be ugly. Get tree dot current scene dot get node no fuel timer dot stop. This is bad. Do not do this. It still didn't work. It still didn't work. I'm not convinced this is even doing anything. I'm not sure. I don't think so, because I'm not sure how how this sound is even getting played. I don't remember. Right, it's getting called. As soon as you hit the exit, it calls in here. Yeah. Right. So it is stopping the fuel timer. There's no error, no bug. So that found the right fuel timer and it stopped it. It's just not doing what I expected it to do. Let's look at this guy. So this is inspecting the game while it's running. This is my game singleton. And in here there should be a stats. Somewhere. There it is, stats dictionary. Player exited hasn't been set yet. Right, it's not yet. Once I get down here, now it is. There it is. Player exited 1, right? It's just not doing what I expected it to do. Because I need to stop the animation player as well. And the animation player, the no fuel timer animation player, is doing that. Fading out of the timer. Yeah, it does loop. So it does this. See how that red? Alright, that's this. And the timer is 15 seconds. It's a 15-second countdown. This guy, it's a 15-second countdown. You have 15 seconds before you self-destruct. So I stopped that timer, but the sound is still playing. I wish I knew where the sound was coming from. I thought it would be playing here in the animation player, but it's not. Updates the label. Stops the animation player. What is that sound even called? Sound effect, typing, no. I bet it's in ship. Fuel empty. This thing is so messed up. I'm getting close to thinking I need to rewrite this whole thing. Because the ship it, because the warnings part, right, isn't part of the ship. It's part of the main scene, but the sound effect is on the ship. I don't know why I did that. And this fuel empty sound effect is played somewhere. It's probably played in the fuel gauge. Empty. Yeah, there it is. So to stop the warning, I'd want to stop the no fuel timer, but I also want to stop this sound effect and stop this animation playing. And really the way that it was intended to be turned off, everything just works if you just give it some fuel. Here we go. Right, it does it right here. So to make the warning stop, I'd need to stop this animation on the ship, and I need to stop or hide this. Shoot. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm talking about, like rewriting this whole thing. I mean, like I could maybe rewrite where the sound is coming from, move that to the main scene. Oh, you know, I'm starting to remember why it is this way. I think I had that warning thing, this. I think I had this warning, this self-destruct warning on the player at first, on the ship. But because of the way the camera moves, it wouldn't stay on screen. So I moved it into the main game loop, but I kept the ship has a fuel gauge attached to it as well. So this thing is affected by the fuel in the ship, but also the ship has its own fuel gauge, and it makes sense for the fuel gauge to remain in the ship. And the fuel gauge on the ship does lots of different things. It has a bunch of animations and stuff, and I want to keep it there. And one of the things it does is it plays that that sound. But I could move the sound here, change the animation, or yeah, I don't want to add any fuel at this point. And it wouldn't need to be 100%. It could just be 1 unit of fuel. That would make everything stop. Yeah, so I'm thinking what Aniki just said and what Javi said earlier, right? Making a signal. And I do have a beam out signal already. That's what's calling this. Got these things separated. It's just spread out across 3 different classes. I've got some of it in the ship, some of it in game singleton, some of it in the main scene. let's do that. Let's add a signal. Let's just do this piece by piece and see what happens. So here's my game singleton. Do I have any signals in here? I do. Got player is the one that I'm after. Right, so when the player gets beamed out, I emit got player. So, my main scene here can connect got player self to this, right? Let's look at my source control real quick and see where I'm at. How messy has this become? Yes. Fine. Don't care about you. Don't care about you. Yeah, and we're going to take this out. Right? So my main scene will connect to this got player scene or signal from the game to itself. And if you've got the player, when does player exited get called? Gets called here when you explode, and it gets called here. Right. So I can say got player and let's just print something out. You know. Load up my test scenario again. And this time we'll just head straight for the exit and see what happens. I should see a hey now, if I've done this right. There it is. So as soon as I hit that, I get a hey now. Which means this signal's working, right? This is called by a signal when the player beams out. And then I want to say game.player which is this. Ugh, this is still going to be kind of ugly. Let's put a function in here. Stop alarm. I don't like the way this is turning out. I want to say fuel gauge animation player dot stop. I want to say fuel gauge dot hide. Yeah. And so I'll do, what is it called? Stop fuel alarm, right? And I also want to do since I'm in this scene, I want to do no fuel timer dot hide. I just don't like how interconnected it is. Might be the best I can do right now. Yeah, at this point, the player is dead. I've lost the reference to the player at this point. Because yeah, here, right? When you enter the portal with the ship, it calls game beam out. Game beam out does this, and it emits this signal got player. Got player calls player exited, right? And player exited, so it calls the signal for here, which sets player to null. My main loop also uses that same signal, but it's getting called second. It's getting called second. I wonder if I have a reference to the game scene in game. If you pass the player, you can null it out in the game and still have the ref and the signal. Yes. Yes, I think that's true. What do you think? You guys like seeing me struggle here? I don't like this for a couple of reasons. One, here's a signal being emitted by the game class, being picked up in the main class, and it's calling functions on the player and on itself. So then if you look at the player, the ship, it's got this stop fuel alarm, and you're like, what is this called from? Who uses this? And then you go, oh, it's only called by here when the player beams out. It's weird. Right, because I want the alarm to stop, right? That does make sense. Because then I wouldn't need to do this. I would just do this, right? And then I wouldn't be calling methods on the ship at all. Judd, I think you're right. Let's take this out. We want fuel empty sound effect here in our world, in our main. let's just pull it in right here. Ship, ship, ship. Fuel empty sound effect. Okay, so now I've got it right here. Our animation player can just play it. This is a neat feature in 3.2. This whole animation player can play audio as well now. So you can actually, so before I was using a method over here in this guy. Right, it's calling a method to play the fuel empty sound, but that was because I wrote it back in 3.0. In 3.2, you can just add an audio playback track directly, tell it which audio thing you want it to play. Yeah, and then just give it the sample to play, and it's going to play it. Fuel empty, right? You can see it right there. This was an audio 2D, but I'm going to change it to just an audio player because I don't want it to be up here in the corner where it is right now. I don't want it to be positional. It was okay if it was positional before because it was on the player. It was always in the center, right? But now it's not. So I'm just going to convert it to a regular audio stream so it's non-positional. It's going to just play it every time this goes down. So I can remove it now from the ship. I can trash that. And let me check for, yep, nobody's calling it. So I can remove that. Oh, that was satisfying. And I can delete this. And I should still get a fuel warning alarm. Oop. Right. I should still get a fuel warning alarm. Unless I don't. Animation player is playing. Playing on the effects bus. It's weird. It seems like it should be playing right now. That's the right sound. I don't know why it's not playing right here. Let me just try doing that again. Add the audio playback track, fuel empty. There it goes. Maybe it was because I changed it from, I changed the type from a positional to a non-positional. Might have to reload this. Let's just reload that. Can't go around changing nodes while the game's running and expect it to behave sanely, right? Yeah, the timing did look weird, didn't it? Here it goes. And give it some fuel, and it stops. Right, so now that's that warning alarm is on the main scene. It's not in the ship at all anymore, which is where it should be. So now I can just say no fuel timer hide and no fuel timer, or rather fuel, nope, animation player. This guy should stop. Alarm, no alarm, alarm, and exit. Shoot. Oh, I was hiding the wrong thing. I kind of like this a lot better because everything it's doing is in this class, right? It's getting signals from other places, but then it's just affecting itself instead of other places. I like it. I like it. Just required some out-of-the-box thinking and and overcoming fear. Fear of change. Shoot. I'll get this right. I want to stop the animation player. I want to hide the whole node. And I want to stop the fuel timer. Third time's a charm. Or 15th time in this case. 15th time's the charm. Let's do it again. Make sure that wasn't a fluke. Oh no! We're out of gas! Quick! To the exit! Ah! Oh, we made it. Alright. Commit. Blap. And blap. It's fine. Yes. Yes. And don't need you. Yep. Yep. Turn off out of fuel alarm. Turn off fuel alarm when player exits level. I should put a sound there when you get beamed out. What just happened? Ugh. I didn't. Amend. Here we go. Yeah, thanks. I didn't stage. Good idea. Let's do that. Add sound effect on level exit because it gets real quiet there. Whew. All right, gang. What do you say? That was about an hour and 45 minutes. I think I'm going to call it. My back's a little sore. It's been a long day. And I've got some dinner to eat. If you're new, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Go to gravityace.com. Please tell your friends about the game. It's coming out soon. You can wishlist it on Steam. You can follow me on itch.io. Come check me out on Twitter. And if you want to, come join our Discord server. There's a link on gravityace.com. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. Really appreciate it. See you next time. Have a good one, everybody.